Good morning. I'm going to do a quick, or maybe not so quick, overview of how to post to the news editor. So here we are for folks that are site managers. You would go to www.springbranchisd.com/admin, and that's going to bring you to the login screen. And I'm going to go ahead and log in with my network credentials, which that's the same login you use to log into the network. Oh, come on. Okay, let's do it this way. Not now. And okay, so we're in, which that took a little longer than anticipated, but we're in. And obviously we're going to like see the normal screen you would see. I have more things listed, so you would have less of a listing over here. But if we want to go ahead and post a news item, we're going to come up here and you're going to see this little group of icons, and you're going to go in here and you're going to click on the option that says posts. And when you do that, it's going to open up a screen that you can see the different boards that are available to you to post to. So we would go ahead. Collections is going to be something different, so don't worry about that. But we'd click on boards. And obviously, I have access pretty much to everybody's board, and every campus or department should have a board already set up. If you don't, email me and we'll make sure that it's in here and that it's linked to your page. So I'm just going to go to the district news board because that's where I usually post content. So I'm going to select that board. And there's a secondary list. Like if we go to Cornerstone, you would click on that content, or if you went to Cedarbrook Elementary, you would click on your board content. So we'll just do that. So Cedarbrook has a few postings. Cornerstone's posted some content. But let's go ahead and go to the district. So here's the district's board. So think about it this way. The content that you post in here on your board, once you've posted in here, then you're going to go to your landing page and you can apply that content to a module. So if we were going to make it a post, I would go over here and click New Post. And it's going to open up a dialog screen, and you would be able to type in your title. This is my news. That's just for a test title. You can copy and paste or enter directly your text. You can also do some editing. Here we have, you could add an image, and let's say this is going to show you all the resources that have been loaded. So if you loaded an image, you can come in here and select the image you want to use. I'm just going to pick this picture, which is from the upcoming art museum event, and I can come in here and right click on it. I'm on the Mac, so bear with me for a second. Let's see if it'll let me. It's not letting me do it. But I can come in here and do some formatting. If I right click on this, usually what it'll do is bring up a dialog box, but I don't have, I'm on my laptop, so it's being a little squirrely. So let's say you had copy, you want to copy and enter. So I'm just going to go to the district website, not the Safe Schools. And I'm just going to reuse some copy that's already posted. So let's say that I didn't have anything typed up in Word. I could go to where I want to get this copy, and I could just copy it and paste it. So once you have your content and your photos in here, again, if you right click on your image, it's going to let you do some formatting. So go ahead and check that out when you're in there. You can come in and auto apply some formatting styles from the drop downs here. So you can do a little customization. You can also, if you wanted to add buttons or do some other formatting, there's some options in that style drop down. Let's say we wanted to add a link. We're going to go ahead and say, oh, I'm going to add a link. And in here, you can add a link to either a resource that you've already loaded. An anchor would be if you put an anchor on the page, it'll jump to that section of the page. Or you can link to an external URL or an email. So if it was an email, you'd paste that email in here. If you wanted to link to a site page, you'd browse to that page that you wanted to take it to, and it would take you to that page. Or you can embed a URL. You can copy a URL and paste it in here. And you don't really need to worry about this content here as long as this stuff is populated. So let's say I wanted to take it to that news posting. I would just paste that news posting in here and say, okay, it's going to automatically add my link for me. So let's assume that you've got your content in here, you've done some formatting, you put a nice picture in here. Something you want to think about is this picture won't necessarily show up in your thumbnails. If you want to have a thumbnail that's available with your posting, you would come here and browse like we did with our image here to browse for a thumbnail. And let's say we want to add this as our thumbnail. So when the news is posted, this little thumbnail would show up on the initial posting, and this image would show up in the news when you actually open the news article. You could add a summary. You could add some tagging here in the districts board. We've set up some different categories. So if I wanted to tag this story as, let's say it was just a general press release, I would tag it with that. I would select that. So then when you did a search in the news editor and searched for press release related content, it will pull all those tagged pieces of content together. So again, there's a lot of additional functionality you could come in here and do in these right panels. Most of it you probably don't need. You're going to want to select a start date. So I want to have it start today. If you put a featured date, it's going to make that listing a priority listing on your news editor. So unless you want that to be the top listing, don't select that, because you may select it and then in 3 days you're going, why is this keep showing up at the top? Because I have 4 more new stories. So this you'd want to use only if there's something super critical, like maybe you have a registration date and everything's due Friday and you want it to be priority for the week. Go ahead and select a featured until date, and that would bring up the dialog box like that. You pick the date, and then it's going to apply that and roll off on that date that you said featured till. And you can have an expiration. So maybe you don't want to have this display for more than 3 days. You can select that date here. So let's say we've done all our configuration that we want to do. So we would go ahead and say we want to save this, which it's then going to save our post. So if we go back to our board, we can see that here it's listed and we see all our content listing that we've worked on. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I really don't want it showing up on my board. So I'm just going to delete it. But once it's on your board, if I go to, let's say, the district website, that content, since I've applied that board to this panel, this module right here, that content would be showing up here. So if you come back over here to our board, our first story you see that's listed on our board is actually showing up on the district's homepage, because we said in this module or this element that we wanted to pull content from our post board to that page. The same thing when we come over here to our news page. We told our news page when we were editing on our news page that we wanted to pull that content from our board to this page. And obviously I talked about tags. Here's where we've got our tags set up, or actually our categories and then our tags down here. So there's configuration that you can do on your default news page as to how your content's going to be displayed. So it's just important to think about when you post content to your board, that's basically where your stuff is housed and lives. And then you're applying it to different sections on your site. So I know that can kind of be a little bit confusing at first, but it's really a time saver in the long run. So let's go look at one of the school websites. So we'll go look at Valley Oaks. And here, Valley Oaks, they do have their school section. All the schools have a school section like this. If we wanted to read more about this, by default, we've set it up to where that initial story is going to show up as kind of a pop-up display for you. And if you click on the read more, it's going to actually take you into the school's landing page where their display is configured. So here we've got their story posted, and you're going to notice on all the schools' pages, we've included a feed over here for the district news, and that needs to stay on your school page because we want to be able to ensure that your district information is showing and your campus information showing on your campus site. So let's go take a look at, we're going to go back out here, and actually let's first see a school that maybe has quite a few. I think Cornerstone's posted a couple of stories. So let's go look at Cornerstone's page. And if we go to their home page, you're going to see that their school news is posted here. And if we come down and look at Composer, there are some functional things you can do to change or edit this element. So if you click on the gear, you can come in here and under content filter, it's going to tell you which board's actually being applied. So right here, you're going to see that Cornerstone's board, their one board is selected. So if for some reason you had multiple boards, you can come in here and configure your board selection based on what you want to have displayed. So obviously, if maybe Cornerstone had an athletics board or a fine arts board or some other configuration, they could come up, have multiple boards, and then display that content as they need to. So it's obviously displaying that. You also have some in here you can elect to say, I want to have my post title, the date, the thumbnail display. So there's some configuration you can do to how the display is showing up here. You can tell it what you want pop-up details to look like. And here's where you can actually, let's say, like by default, again, these news items are going to show as a pop-up. But if you wanted that content to actually be displayed on a page or as an element, you can come in here and link to those different options. So we're going to leave that as a pop-up and say save. And again, let's go ahead and we're just going to, we really didn't change anything. So let's just publish it and we're going to look at this. So again, the pop-up configuration's there. The more news, go read more news is there. And it's pulling the content and the stories that they've posted. See, here they don't have there's no image associated with these files. So the only thing that you're going to see image-wise, they've applied a thumbnail, but they didn't have actually an image in their posting. So that's something to note, to think about when you're posting, just to make sure that your display is coming up how you want it to. So in a very basic way, that's how you apply a post content to your news page. And we're going to be going through and taking a look and making sure everybody's updating their content. So if you only have the back to school posting on your site, make sure that in the next week or so you come in and post a new news item for your school, because back to school's done. So if you've got questions about how to post to the news editor, or if you need a board actually created for your campus or your division, go ahead and email me back at melissa.weiland@springbranchist.com, and we can make sure and get that configured and set up for you. And we do have 2 additional trainings that I sent out that are coming up as open lab sessions. So if you want to come in and work on posting to your news editor, it would be a great idea. Maybe you've got a couple events coming up in the next couple of months. You can come into those sessions and get those plugged into your news editor and actually get them scheduled. So they would be based on calendar as to when they're showing up. and you can get all that stuff preloaded, and then you don't really have to worry about using your news editor um, every day. You can schedule it on a weekly or even a monthly basis. So again, those dates, I sent those out via email, so make sure to attend if you need help on any site use or specifically on getting your news editor updated, because I think that's something that's a really easy way to get information out quickly for you guys. So thanks a lot. Have a great one.